very excited. I'm Gordon Van Huizen, VP of Platform Strategy for Mendix, and I'm incredibly excited to be hosting this panel for the next half hour. We have 3 technology and business leaders that are truly transforming the way that they design and deliver solutions to their employees and to their customers, all driven by very, very clear business objectives. And across the panel, I think you'll see a really interesting range of scenarios and objectives that they're satisfying with their new approaches. So today I have with me Anik Dubeuil, which I'm sure I'm slaughtering that pronunciation.
That's okay.
Anik is the CIO of Canada Post and the CEO of Innovapost, which is the technology arm of Canada Post. Immediately next to Anik is Glenn Sanford. Glenn is the CEO of eXp Realty, which represents a new form of real estate brokerage model that is truly disrupting the real estate industry. So we'll get to hear about that and the role that technology plays within it. And then next to me is Jerome Gouvernel, who is a VP and general manager at ADP and is the founder of the product incubator at ADP that's driving new and innovative solutions. So with that, thank you for being here this afternoon. And I think I'll start with Jerome. So Jerome is responsible for driving innovation and new solutions to the market for ADP. And he's seen tremendous success with that. ADP has seen tremendous success. And it all stems from what a lot of people talk about around things like design thinking and finding the actual problem to solve. But he's been successful at actually delivering new solutions to unsolved problems. And Jerome, I was wondering if you might tell us a bit about that and how you go about it.
Sure. So for us, I would say the primary problem that I'm trying to solve is usability. So over the years, I think enterprise users have become more demanding in terms of the products they want to use. And what we found is that you can build a great platform, you can build a great product, you can build a great solution, you can sell it, you can be extremely successful, whether you're SAP, ADP, or any of the other vendors. But when you look into how much your products are actually being used by real people in the workplace, what you find is that unless they have a compelling reason to go into your product, they don't. And so very often you build these magnificent products that do amazing things only if they were used. But very often they don't get used. And so I wanted to spend more time to try and understand how can we really help someone within the workplace. So if you think about all your workplaces, for example, what is it that we could bring to the table that would truly solve a problem for you to the extent that you would want to use this product without being forced to use this product? And that sounds like an obvious problem to solve, but it's actually to do with human psychology, and it's really complicated. And very often you don't find the solutions that you were expecting to find. And so the process of doing that is discovery. It's an exploration. You have to try a lot of different things. You have to try and put yourself in the mind of your potential users. And the thing that we discovered is when you test your solutions, the test results never tell you the truth. 99% of the time, when you bring people in to test your solution, they will tell you they like it or they love it. And then you release it into the wild and nobody uses it. So for us to solve this problem, we needed to build a lot of products. So we could actually build real things. We would actually distribute them. So these would not be prototypes. They would be actual solutions, fully working. And then observe, right? Are people using it or not? And 9 times out of 10, I'm ashamed to say, they don't. But 1 time out of 10, they do. And so, so therefore, coming from that angle, what do we need in order to achieve that? Well, we need a way to build products really, really quickly. And that means I can't afford to have 20 developers and back-end developers and middleware and all that other stuff. And my background is in technology. I was a CTO before this. And I realized that this was actually an impediment to success. So I started looking around for a way, for a platform, and we looked at a couple. We actually ran some prototypes, and we liked Mendix. It was the right size for us. And then very quickly, immediately, we started building things. And in fact, the second thing we started building ended up winning Product of the Year at HR Tech last year. It was a leadership solution. And it's something we iterated over 12 months, but we had a full working product within a month. So we actually released the product in our Philippines offices. So we had 3,000 employees in our Philippines headquarters using a product that took us actually 3 weeks to build.
It's remarkable.
And that gave us the signal that allowed us to then say, okay, let's invest some more, let's keep going. And that's how we used it.
Wow. So could you say a bit more perhaps about how you might have done that had you not had a low-code platform to leverage? What would the process usually have looked like?
Well, I mean, I can...
Or did you not even contemplate that route?
I honestly did not contemplate it because I came from that background, and I spent 10 years at ADP building very large platforms with big teams and a lot of technology, et cetera. But I don't think... I think it would have taken me a year to create the team, because that's the other thing, is using a low-code platform changes the kind of people that you can bring to bear to the problem, which for us is really critical, because you can't expect a technologist to solve psychology problems, right? If you ask even a good product manager probably did not study psychology, and yet to engage with users, that's really what you got to do at some level. And so I actually brought in a behavioral economist on my team. It was the first one we had at ADP, who's doing absolutely amazing work, who brought in completely new ideas, and we were able to take these ideas and build them into a product, almost as, you know, it was as he was sort of telling us the stuff, saying, well, this is how you should think about it. We would, I mean, the guy who wrote the product, by the way, single guy. So we won an award for a product that was built by a single person. And we were competing against, you know, traditional vendors who presumably had, you know, dozens, if not more, developers. So we were able to basically take this input, put into the product. Because it was already released, we had users, you know, giving us real-time feedback. I mean, we were releasing code every day, and that allowed us to keep going. And it allowed us to focus on the behavior of users, the actual purpose of the app. We never had a discussion about technology. We never had a discussion. I mean, I probably had 3 discussions about scaling. We ran some big tests, so we actually did a lot of, you know. We loaded the systems with, you know, millions of records just to make sure that nothing would go wrong, and we had absolutely no issues whatsoever. Otherwise, you'd know about it.
Definitely.
And essentially, we spent a year researching, really truly researching what we were building. And it was a topic we knew nothing about when we started.
That's fascinating.
And so within a year, we were like the experts at a brand new product. And I can't think of, you know, if we had 100 developers, I'm not sure that we would achieve that.
Interesting. You were saying something when we were speaking earlier about beauty in user interfaces that I found interesting.
Yeah, that's just my little, this little theory of mine. But if you look at, always look at Craigslist, Amazon, you know, you look at all these products that are pretty ugly, if you have to be honest. I mean, they're not attractive websites. And yet we keep going back again and again and again. And you know, Amazon is probably one of the highest traffic websites in the world. And to me, it shows one thing, is that what makes a product successful is not what it looks like. And you know, the last 10 years, we've heard so much about UX research and UX design and all of the stuff about, you know, I guess Steve Jobs kind of prepped us for this, primed us for this. But actually, I think it was misunderstood. What's really important is, does this solve a problem worth solving? Because users will come back for that. And you know, with the Mendix framework, which does not emphasize the look, but emphasizes speed and the agility of building something that works, we were able to test solutions that actually made sense to the user. And if you want to make them pretty later on, it's really easy to do, but that's a nice problem to have, right? I mean, you can solve that in a week. You know, if your users love your product and say, yeah, but you know, it's not very attractive.
I thought it was a wonderful comment, because so many people say beautiful UI, beautiful UX, as if that's the goal. And certainly it's nice.
In our experience, it has no bearing on how much your product is used. Zero. Like, there's absolutely no correlation between the two.
Interesting. Thanks, Jerome. So Glenn, you have an interesting story to tell for sure. So Glenn is the CEO of a brokerage, a real estate brokerage that has gone from being the 42nd largest in the United States to being the 7th largest in a year. Did I have that right?
Yeah, we're probably about number 5 now.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, and you're doing that with I'm trying to not steal your thunder. You're doing that with a really unusual business model. And I think people would love to hear about
Yeah, so
what that is.
so I'm the founder of eXp Realty, and we are a cloud-based residential real estate brokerage, meaning that we actually operate a brokerage without any physical offices to speak of. So we're in 49 states, 3 provinces. When we started to look at Mendix, which was back at beginning of 2016, we were about 2,500 residential real estate professionals. We're now over 14,000. So you can kind of think about just that size and scale. And we build we have an online community that we've built called eXp World, where we literally go to the office as avatars. I know this. I actually work home office like everybody else in the entire company, not just our agents. So we eat our own dog food from that perspective. And we're with rapidly growing as we are, and being totally out of the box in the way that we operate. None of the software that we could find was developed for a national brokerage. Or developed for franchises, so you could buy a franchise for Century 21 or Keller Williams or Remax. You can run a local franchise office, but we're actually one company in all those markets, and we manage that. So we're geographically the largest, 5th largest by agent count, by real estate brokerage brand, and we're fast becoming larger as we continue to grow. Our big thing back in 2016, quite frankly, was that we had outgrown all the systems we could sort of buy off the shelf, and nobody was customizing fast enough. We started to look at, how do we as a team put something together? Do we go, for all intents and purposes, we weren't a development shop. We had some hacker talent in our company, meaning that we could hack together MySQL and PHP and WordPress and a bunch of stuff like that. But to actually think about developing full-blown applications to actually run an enterprise, that wasn't who we were. And so we started to say, how do we do this? And so all of a sudden we started to hear this thing about rapid application development platforms and then platforms as a service, and started to look at it and go, that's it. And so that's kind of how we got sort of iterating in this space. And it's been quite amazing that we've been able to go from prototyping an agent directory to basically building an entire back end for 14,000 plus agents and staff, and build all that integration without having to be truly an IT developed team. Now we've got more IT folks on staff now than we did 2 years ago, but the fact is that we were able to sort of quickly develop things and put those out and develop new functionality without having to be truly a IT based organization.
Now, were you envisioning that you might use low code for transactional systems, the transactional work, in addition to things like dashboards, or did that kind of evolve?
That was actually the first. We were trying to solve. We were using a platform that for transaction management, and transactions aren't hugely complicated, but when you do it in 49 different states, time is probably 25, and 150 different multiple listing services and all of the sort of data stuff. It is pretty daunting to think about what that looks like. But then when we started to look at low code, we saw, hey, this actually solves this in a pretty elegant way. It wasn't overly complicated, because if we could build it on a Google spreadsheet, which we could build a transaction for any state or any multiple listing service in a spreadsheet, that it should be able to be built into an interface using products like Mendix, and that's what we did. And in fact, we manage our transaction workflow. We manage equity. We have a unique revenue sharing plan, so we actually share revenues with agents and brokers to help us grow. And we're able to then offer them a better financial model overall, and all that's tracked inside of our enterprise platform.
Cool. Well, speaking of transactions, Canada Post. So So Anik has made a commitment, I believe, to transforming how software development occurs at Canada Post based upon agile development, iterative development, and low code first for things including transactional systems.
Absolutely. So that's probably not the first decision that a lot of you would make intuitively. Let's transform our core with a low-code based platform. It's probably counterintuitive. We would probably do things that are more on the innovation side or pilot side, prototype side. But I started the journey 16 months ago with Canada Post. This is a 255 years old organization. The word old in my sentence is very important here. We have everything is old in my organization. Our way of thinking, our way of developing, our application, our back-end system, name it. But the truth is, we've been successful for 255 years old, renewing our way of delivering our services. But the market is changing. The last 3 years have been challenging for us. We've been delivering mail the same way for the last 50 years without a challenge making billions of dollars. But now parcel is part of the equation. This is not the same game. This is overrunning us. This is a new way of working. We don't need to go to all address every day. We don't need to deliver mail to every door every day, although we do have the service obligation. We don't have mail to deliver every day, but we do have parcels. So as part of my journey, when I started with the company 16 months ago, I asked, so what are we using to be agile and nimble? And how does that, our core looks like? And our core for us, in regards to other companies, our core is our address. It's data. It's the address of the 16.5 million address that we have in Canada that we need to knock at each and every one of the door every day. That address system was built 20 years ago with 6 different data reference that we are trying to renovate at this moment. So there was a project when I started that was 2 years in the making. And when I met with the team, I said, how do we intend to renovate this? This is like the worst spider web that I've seen in my entire career. This is the core of our operation, connects to all of our SAP backend, and connects into all of our engineering systems that are part of our plants and our depot. There's a place you can screw it up, this is the right place. We can actually make this a true nightmare. The risk of touching that system, that's why in the last 20 years nobody wanted to open the hood and look into the challenge. But we're getting to the point where if we don't renovate that core, we're not going to be relevant in 3 years. So we need to do something about it, and we need to do it in a way we can de-risk that challenge. So as part of the journey, I started working with the team, and I had previous experience with local platform way back when in 2012. I redid a core banking system at the time. Again, core. We made that choice because that was very risky, and it paid back big time. So I decided that I would actually bring the same recipe within Canada Post and actually use the same approach to see if we could solve the problem. Brought the team in, did the evaluation, did some prototyping. After 2 years, the team had not seen anything. The business people could not believe that we had not delivered anything. Within a few weeks, and the Mendix team being on site with us, we actually showed the business what this could look like. They had an application, fully functional application in their hand. And that's where the story started. We actually made the decision that we were gonna use, we proved that we could use the low-code based platform to actually revamp and reinvent ourselves from a core system perspective, taking our journey from a 4-year project to a 22 months project. And we're starting that journey now with $100 million investment. And we're gonna do it with a local platform. So we think we're gonna have success. It's pretty ambitious, but the beauty of it is ambition in something like this, you can iterate on it. You can fail fast. So if we have failure, we'll be able to correct ourselves and actually continue on moving. So I strongly believe in it. And although it doesn't sound like it's intuitive, I would strongly encourage each and every one of you to explore those avenues, because this is really how we can make a difference for our business partners.
About how many applications and systems do you think you'll end up revisiting with low code?
Actually, our platform today, just the core addressing, is 29 core apps, 63 business processes we're going to be touching. We think we're going to revamp that probably in a portfolio of about 10 to 12 apps with one single data reference that we will be using and piggybacking on. So we think that overall the entire development and implementation of this, because it's not just, as we're doing the journey, it's not just taking the old and doing the same thing. We really need to look at our business process to start removing a lot of the manual process that we've had for 20 years that our people have to do. We think we can automate a lot of it as part of our journey. So we are actually rewriting and optimizing all of our business processes in the same journey. And we're going to do that iteratively as we build the application and give us the flexibility to iterate on it, because it's really hard when you look at your entire business to actually look at the target picture and say, this is exactly what I want. Because we don't know what good look like, we're going to build it iteratively so that we get to the right answer that actually help the business deliver the value they have to deliver.
Very, very nice. So when doing new things or doing things in new ways, which clearly all three of you are doing, the two things that always come up, I think, are concerns and objections. That's what often stops things from moving forward or being done a different way. I'm wondering if each of you could give us a sense of what your most significant challenge or objection was and how you might have addressed that or are in the process of addressing it.
So for us, it was the actual original adoption was actually pretty easy because we were a small team in terms of sort of going this direction. I think that our bigger challenge is working with the highly successful technology-based folks that join our organization to have them think in a new way of developing software. So for us, that's probably our bigger challenge is not how to get things done. If I'm sitting with the team, we can get stuff done very quickly because we'll focus on one very definable challenge. Whereas if we think about the team going off and developing, they try to think about everything. And so for us, trying to figure out what are those small bite-sized chunks that we can actually deliver quickly. And when we do that, we're successful. When we sort of get away from that, it starts to go back to sort of muscle memory of being a little bit more enterprise level software development.
Great.
I think for me, the only discussion I ever had we're a pretty open-minded company, and my boss was pretty open-minded at the time. His only concern was scalability. And the question was something like, well, if you build this thing on this platform, what will happen if it starts selling really well? We're going to have to rebuild it on full stack. And I said, yep, we'll do that if we need to. And
sorry,
this was 3 years ago.
Indeed.
And so we never had to do that because we stress tested the system. Actually, there was one area where I was personally concerned because I would say ADP, if we're known for one thing, is the security of data. We've been processing personal data forever, social security numbers, credit card, bank account details and personal information, etc. So we're crazy about the amount of security that is put onto the systems, and the penetration tests or the battery of penetration tests that we have to go through to release any new product is insane. And in my mind, if I expected any failure anywhere, this is where I expected it to happen, and it didn't happen. So really, there were no objections. I had some slight concerns because I didn't know what direction it was going to take, but it turned out to be we've had no problems. So.
Wow, great.
And I would actually correlate to what you're saying, Jerome. My first experience was, for a bank, and we all know when you deal with banking information and you do loans, there's a lot of security challenges, and the banks are kind of quite cold on going down those paths. So go back I'm talking 2012 here. 2012, we had the same concern, and we actually proved the exact same thing at the same time: scalability, performance, and security of the information. So that is a big concern, but it is something that you need to prove very quickly and remove out of your equation.
I mean, the other thing I want to mention, I think I maybe talked about a little bit, but I think the people that you have in your team that are going to be involved with this, it's both a challenge and an opportunity. We had this discussion at lunch. If you start with an existing team, it can be a challenge because you have certain skill sets. In my case, I actually had the opportunity to start a brand new team, so I was able to hire the people I wanted. But it allowed me to hire people that had far less of a technology background and much more of a background that was suitable for the kinds of research and products that we were trying to build. All of our budgets are limited. I assume you guys have the same problem as me. But if your boss tells you, okay, I'll give you 10 headcounts, how are you going to spend that? And in my case, I spent every single one of those on functional people that actually help me build products. Not a single one, still to this day, is on technology. So for me, it made all the difference, because in a traditional mix, it would have probably been seven technology and then 3 whatever else.
I'm assuming your situation's different.
Yeah, it is. It is very different because I have a large IT organization. So my biggest challenge is my own team. So not always easy to take technologists and going from a way of working that is very traditional and trying to reshape the organization and tell them that we can achieve and be successful in doing things differently. So it's really around change management. And for all of you that were in the presentation this morning, it was a lot around the culture. And truly, if you take that journey, you really need to think about how do you bring your team along? How do you transform your organization to think differently? How do we bring technology to a different level, which is not about religion? Like, I'm not a technologist fundamentally, so for me, I don't have any adoption of religion that I strongly believe in. But in my team, oh my God, like those guys just have, like sometimes it's just religion, and you need to unpack that to really deconstruct the paradigm to help them think that we can achieve the same goals or the same things much faster, much cheaper, and be much more relevant and nimble for the business. But it is much more around change management than really technology. So as leaders, our role in something like this is really thinking about what kind of program do we put in place. I didn't have the same luxury as Jerome that I could replace the entire team because I've got 1,000 people, so that'd be an expensive journey. But I'm working on a transformation program where we talk about change management, training our people, bringing an hackathon in the house so that my people feel like what it is to be fast and nimble and start playing with this thing. But a lot of my people will have to be repurposed. And that's not going to be an easy journey, and I know that, but we're going to take that one day at a time so that I can bring that base. And I have a very interesting success story. We brought a girl, so thank you for the ladies in the room. We're minority in IT, but we brought a girl in one of my program, and she actually has no IT background. She was really like somebody that was doing functional writing and all that. And we actually trained her on the application. She's our best developer within a matter of 2 months. She's the best person to actually construct application right now. And she's beating all of the old guys that I have that have 25 years of experience in doing development. But she thinks business, she understands what the business wants, she can translate that and map this in something that the business understand, really nailing down like to the last drop of requirement, what they're looking for. And she's doing it beautifully. So we need to think about what is our organization, IT organization of the future. It may not be what we know today.